screen glowing. 4.2 million views. Amadi's thumb frozen. Their kiss, their private moment, now everywhere. No, 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 his voice shatters. Chidi lunges, but Amadi's already spinning. Phone crashes against the wall. Glass exploding. Then the buzzing. Every device screaming. Dad calling. Dad calling. They know. Amadi collapses. Chidi catches him, foreheads pressed together, both trembling. 30 years of hiding gone in one viral video. This is the love story between a pastor's son and chore master. The video was already viral. Chidi's phone wouldn't stop buzzing, notifications bleeding into each other like a hemorrhage. His father's church, Covenant Harvest Ministries, had 50,000 members. By morning, every single one of them would know. The footage was grainy but unmistakable. Two men in the church parking lot at midnight, backlit by a street lamp. One was him, 30, sharp-jawed, his father's eyes. The other was Amadi, 32, beautiful in ways that had always made Chidi's breath catch. The choir director, the man he loved. The kiss lasted 4 seconds. It would cost them everything. His phone lit up, Dad calling. Chidi stared at it until it went dark. Then his mother, then his sister. Then numbers he didn't recognize. Reporters probably, or church members hungry for destruction disguised as concern. Across town, Amadi was watching the same video on 7 different screens. Twitter, Instagram, WhatsApp groups with names like Covenant Prayer Warriors and God's Remnant. His hands shook. His mother's voice echoed from the living room. Amadi, people are saying terrible things about you online. The church would convene an emergency meeting at dawn. Pastor Okafor, Chidi's father, the man who'd built an empire on traditional values, would have to choose between his ministry and his son. But neither Chidi nor Amadi knew that yet. Right now, they were just two men watching their lives collapse in real time, wondering if love had ever been worth this price. Chidi had always been handsome in the way that complicated things. At 30, he had his father's commanding presence, broad shoulders, a jawline that photographs loved, eyes that made congregants whisper about anointing. But where Pastor Okafor wielded his looks like authority, Chidi wore his like armor. He stood in his apartment now, phone dark, the silence louder than the 1,000 notifications. The video had been posted 2 hours ago. His father's chief deacon had called it demonic infiltration. A prayer group was already organizing deliverance sessions. He texted Amadi, "Are you safe?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again for now. Chidi's reflection caught in the window. A man who'd spent his life being groomed for succession. Princeton theology degree, assistant pastor at 26. The golden son who'd preach about grace while hiding the most essential part of himself. He thought about Amadi's smile, how it had broken through his carefully constructed walls 8 months ago during a late-night rehearsal. How Amadi, at 32, had a quiet strength that made Chidi feel less alone in his performance of faith. His father's next call came at 2 a.m. This time Chidi answered. "Come home," Pastor Okafor said. Not angry, worse, disappointed. "We need to pray about this spirit that's attacking you." Chidi closed his eyes. "Dad, now, Chidi. The elders are gathering." The line went dead. Outside, Lagos hummed with its usual chaos. Somewhere in the same city, Amadi was facing his own reckoning. The performance was over. Amadi had spent 32 years building a life of careful invisibility. As Covenant Harvest choir director, he was essential but peripheral, praised for his talent, never quite embraced. His beauty was the kind that made people uncomfortable. Elegant features, expressive eyes that seemed to see too much. A grace in his movements that defied the masculine rigidity the church demanded. His mother sat across from him now, the phone between them displaying the video on pause. "Tell me it's not real," she said. "Tell me someone edited this." Amadi looked at his hands. The same hands that had directed hundreds of voices in worship, that had touched Chidi's face in stolen moments. "Mama, don't," her voice cracked. "I've sacrificed everything for you. Church scholarships, respect. And you repay me with this shame? I love him." The words hung between them like a verdict. His mother stood, her face collapsing into something between grief and fury. "Love, you're calling this abomination love?" She grabbed her purse. "Pastor Okafor is a good man. He'll pray the demons out of both of you, but I won't stay here and watch you celebrate your destruction." The door slammed. Amadi sat alone in the silence, thinking about how Chidi's laughter sounded in empty spaces, How they'd talk until dawn about theology and doubt, and the God they both still believed in, despite everything the church taught them about themselves. His phone buzzed. "My father wants me home." "They're planning an intervention," Amadi replied. "Mine just left." "We're not going to survive this, are we?" "I don't know, but I'm not losing you without a fight." Pastor Okafor's mansion stood like judgment itself, a sprawling estate in Lekki that prosperity gospel had built. At 58, he still commanded rooms with a voice that made mountains move and wallets open, but tonight, facing his son across his study's mahogany desk, he looked almost fragile. "Tell me it's a misunderstanding," he said. Chidi at 30 had his father's height but none of his certainty. "Would you believe me if I did? I want to." Pastor Okafor leaned back, exhaustion creasing his handsome features. "The board is convening at 6. They'll want answers." "The media? God, the media is already calling it a scandal. Do you understand what this does to the ministry?" "To the ministry?" Chidi repeated. "Not to me. You are the ministry. You're my heir, my—" He stopped, composing himself. "Is it true about you and Amadi?" The question demanded a lie. Chidi's entire life had prepared him for this moment of denial. "Yes." The word felt like freedom and ending simultaneously. His father's face hardened. "Then we fix it, deliverance. Counseling, you'll testify about your healing. Amadi will be quietly reassigned." "No." "No?" Pastor Okafor stood, his voice rising. "You're choosing this perversion over everything I've built? Over God?" "Over your version of God," Chidi said quietly. "The one who looks like you, who hates what you hate." "Get out." His father's hand trembled. "Until you're ready to repent, you're not my son." Chidi left his childhood home, the place where he'd learned to hide, wondering if freedom always required this kind of death. Sunday service was a battlefield dressed as worship. Amadi stood at the choir's edge, 32 years of composure barely containing his trembling. The sanctuary held 5,000 people, all of them watching. Chidi sat in the front row, his handsome face a mask of defiance beside his stone-faced father. Pastor Okafor began, "We face a spiritual attack." The congregation murmured agreement. "Two of our own have fallen into grave sin, but we serve a God of restoration." His eyes found Chidi. "My son will testify about his deliverance." Chidi didn't move. The sanctuary held its breath. Finally, Chidi stood, 30 years old, carrying his father's legacy and his own truth. He walked to the pulpit. Pastor Okafor stepped aside, confident in this performance of redemption. "You want me to repent?" Chidi said, his voice steady. "To call my love a demon." He looked at Amadi. "I can't." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I love Amadi, I'm not ashamed of it. And if that makes me unwelcome here, then this was never really home." "Chidi," his father warned. But Chidi was already descending, walking toward Amadi. The choir director's beautiful face was streaked with tears. Chidi took his hand. "Come with me," Chidi whispered. They walked down the center aisle together, two men holding hands in the sanctuary's holy space. Some people shouted scriptures, others wept, but some, a handful, watched with something like recognition. Outside, Lagos traffic roared its indifference. "What did we just do?" Amadi asked. "Chose truth," Chidi said. "Whatever comes next." Behind them, Pastor Okafor watched his empire fracture. His son was gone. His choir director had abandoned post. The service continued, but everything had changed. Chidi's sister, Adaizi, found them at Amadi's apartment that evening. At 27, she had their father's righteousness, but their mother's capacity for doubt. "Mom's sedated," she said, pushing past them. "Dad's talking about pressing charges against whoever recorded you. The board wants both of you banned from church grounds." She turned to face them. Chidi at 30, exhausted but unbowed, and Amadi at 32, beautiful in his defiance. "Are you here to save our souls?" Chidi asked. "I'm here because you're still my brother." Adizi's voice cracked. "But Chidi, do you understand what you've done? Dad built that church from nothing. 50,000 members, orphanages, schools. You just destroyed it in 3 minutes." "He destroyed us first," Chidi said quietly. Years of shame, silence, pretending we don't exist. Adaiz looked at Amadi. "And you? You knew who he was. You knew what this would cost." Amadi met her gaze. "I know what loving someone costs when people have weaponized God. Your brother is the first man who ever made me feel like I deserved to be loved, not fixed." Silence. Finally, Adaizi sat. "The congregation is splitting. Half think you're demon-possessed. The other half is," she paused, "questioning. There's a WhatsApp group, Covenant's Hidden Voices, people sharing stories. Secret struggles with sexuality, gender, doubt. How many? Chidi asked. 200 members growing every hour. Chidi and Amadi exchanged glances. We didn't mean to start a revolution, Amadi said. Maybe that's how real ones begin, Adaze replied. But revolutions have casualties. Are you prepared for that? Neither answered. Outside, the city darkened. Inside, something new was being born. The media descended like locusts. By Monday, Chidi's face was on every tabloid. Pastor's gay son shames megachurch. Amadi, at 32, discovered what it meant to be beautiful and villainized simultaneously. His photo was everywhere, captioned as the seducer, the corrupter. His mother called once. Don't come home, the neighbors are talking. Chidi's Princeton classmates reached out, some supportive, others condemning. His father's pastoral colleagues released a joint statement calling him a cautionary tale about Western liberal corruption. They stayed in Amadi's small apartment, the world shrinking to 2 rooms and each other. I got fired, Amadi said, reading the email. Effective immediately. Moral turpitude clause. Chidi, despite his handsome features, looked hollowed. My trust fund's frozen. Dad's lawyer sent papers. They sat in silence, the weight of consequences settling. Do you regret it? Amadi asked. Chidi touched his face, 30 years of hiding unraveling into this moment of clarity. I regret that it took so long, that we wasted years being afraid. Amadi's phone buzzed. An unknown number. I'm a member of Covenant. What you did was brave. There are more of us than you know. Then another. My daughter came out last year. Your story gave her hope. Another. I'm a pastor's kid too. Thank you for being honest. The messages kept coming, dozens, then hundreds. Stories of people suffocating under the weight of perfect Christianity, seeing themselves in Chidi and Amadi's refusal to disappear. We're not alone, Amadi whispered. No, Chidi agreed, reading the messages. We never were. We just didn't know how to find each other. That night, they created a private forum, Covenant's Refuge. By morning, 500 people had joined. Pastor Okafor's next sermon addressed the spirit of rebellion infiltrating the body. But a third of the congregation was absent. They'd gathered instead at a community center, 200 people, then 400, then more. Chidi and Amadi hadn't planned to lead anything, but leadership found them anyway. We're not trying to destroy the church, Chidi told the gathering. At 30, he was discovering a different kind of authority, one built on vulnerability rather than certainty. We're trying to be honest about what faith can look like when it includes everyone. A woman in her 50s stood. My son died by suicide 3 years ago. He was gay. The church told him he was an abomination. Tears streamed down her face. If he'd seen you two standing together, maybe he'd still be here. Others shared. Decades of hiding, performing, breaking. The stories flooded out like pressure released. Amadi, beautiful and finally unafraid at 32, organized them into support groups. Former church musicians started a new choir, one that sang about divine love without conditions. News outlets called it the Great Covenant Split. Pastor Okafor watched his empire fragment from his fortress. His wife Grace finally spoke. Maybe we failed them. They failed God, he insisted. Or our understanding of God failed them, she said quietly. I don't want to lose our son. We already did. He chose honesty. When did that become the enemy? Across the city, Chidi's sister Adaiz attended her first refuge meeting. She didn't speak, just listened. But afterward, she hugged her brother for the first time in weeks. I'm trying to understand, she said. That's all we're asking, Chidi replied. The movement was growing and it wouldn't be stopped. Pastor Okafor appeared on national television. My son is lost, he declared, his commanding presence filling the screen. Deceived by the spirit of the age. But we will fast and pray for his deliverance. The interviewer asked, do you still love him? A pause. I love who he was before this deception. Chidi watched from Amadi's couch, something inside him finally breaking, not in despair but in release. He'll never accept us, Amadi said softly, his 32 years of navigating rejection evident in his tone. Then we build something new. The Covenant Refuge community had grown to 2,000 members. They needed space, structure. Chidi and Amadi found themselves accidentally pastoring, not from authority but from shared wound. We're too young for this, Amadi laughed during a planning meeting. I'm 32, you're 30, we're barely adults. Moses was 80, Chidi replied. Maybe God's trying something different. But the opposition intensified. Death threats arrived daily. Someone spray-painted abomination on Amadi's door. Pastor Okafor's lawyers filed defamation suits. Then Chidi's mother appeared at their door. Grace Okafor, at 55, still beautiful and exhausted by years of First Lady performance. "Can I come in?" They sat in tense silence. "Your father won't listen," she finally said. "But I can't lose you." "I won't," she looked at Amadi. "Both of you." Chidi's composure cracked. "Mama, I don't understand everything, but I understand love. And I see it when you look at each other." She took their hands. "Whatever you're building, I want to help." For the first time in months, Chidi wept. Amadi held him, two men finding family in unexpected places, building home from fragments of grace. 6 months later, the refuge had become something extraordinary. What started as a support group evolved into a church, not despite the pain, but because of it. Chidi at 30 preached about a God big enough to hold doubt. Amadi at 32 led worship that made people weep not from shame, but from recognition. They met in a renovated warehouse, Sunday attendance 3,000. Not megachurch numbers, but something more sustainable, community built on honesty rather than performance. Pastor Okafor watched from distance. His congregation had stabilized at 35,000, still massive but diminished. The prophets warned him about compromising with wickedness. But Grace attended both churches now. Her husband's on Sunday morning, her son's on Sunday evening. The commute between worlds was exhausting, but she persisted. Ades joined them full-time, bringing her organizational skills. "Dad says I'm betraying the family," she told Chidi. "You're expanding it," he replied. Media coverage shifted. What began as scandal became conversation. Other pastors' children started coming forward with their own stories. The movement rippled beyond Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Nairobi. Chidi and Amadi's relationship became public in a different way. Not scandal, but testimony. They moved in together officially, adopted a dog, made breakfast while debating theology. "We're boring now," Amadi laughed one morning. "Revolutionary boredom," Chidi agreed, kissing him. At 30 and 32, they'd built something impossible. Love that didn't require hiding. Faith that included rather than excluded. Family chosen rather than mandated. The refuge wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that, they discovered, was revolutionary enough. The call came on a Tuesday. "Your father had a heart attack," Grace said. "He's asking for you." Chidi found him diminished in the hospital bed. The commanding pastor reduced to fragility. At 58, Pastor Okafor looked ancient, stripped of performance. "Chidi," he whispered, "I'm here, Dad." Silence stretched between them. 30 years of expectations, months of estrangement. "I was wrong." The words came haltingly. "Not about my faith, but about love, about you." His eyes filled. "I chose doctrine over my son, and it nearly killed me, literally." Chidi's chest tightened. "Dad, let me finish." "Please." Pastor Okafor gripped his hand. "I don't understand everything. Maybe I never will. But you're my son, and I love you." I should have said that first. Before everything else, the dam broke. Chidi wept against his father's shoulder. Years of longing, rejection, hope. "I brought someone," Chidi said finally. He texted Amadi, who waited outside. When Amadi entered, 32 beautiful, terrified, Pastor Okafor extended his hand. "I'm sorry," he said simply, "for the pain we caused you both." It wasn't full acceptance. Not yet, but it was beginning. Weeks later, Pastor Okafor visited the refuge. He didn't preach, just listened. Heard stories of pain his theology had caused. Wept with families divided by doctrines he'd defended. "I'm not changing everything overnight," he told Chidi. "But I'm trying for you, for them." At Chidi's wedding to Amadi, a small ceremony, Grace and Adaisi in attendance, Pastor Okafor stood in the back. He didn't officiate, but he came. And when Chidi at 30 kissed his husband, 32-year-old Amadi, his father didn't look away. Love, it turned out, was always stronger than fear. It just took longer to realize. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe, like, and share for more stories.